So anything at all, anything of interest you'd like to, there's usually something which someone would like to begin.
I've got a question. I guess that's what brings me here.
Yeah, of course.
I guess I'm interested in learning about different philosophies. I work as a drug and alcohol counsellor, have been doing for about 15 years, specialising in addictions and especially with Aboriginal culture. And looking at different ways and understanding through different philosophies about dealing with trauma, which is the underlying cause of most addictions. Other than treating the addiction itself, it's looking at. So I just wanted to know, what is the philosophy around addressing trauma?
Okay, that's a good question. So I'll go back right to the source of everything, and then we'll work from there. So according to the Bhagavad Gita, has anyone heard of the Bhagavad Gita before? Bhagavad Gita, it's in India, it's like the Bible. So this is part of the Vedas. Has anyone heard of that word, Veda? You know? Yeah. So Veda means knowledge. So basically all the ancient books from India, they're called Veda, which means they're about spiritual knowledge. But there's many aspects of the Vedic literatures. There's also the Ayurveda. You may have heard of Ayurveda. Ayurveda means health. Health knowledge, like Chinese medicine, the equivalent in India is called Ayurveda. There's also Dhanurveda. Dhanurveda means how to fight battles. Just like in China, they also have, you know, art. The art of war is there. So there's also the equivalent within the. So there's all the aspects of knowledge are there, and the most important aspect of knowledge is spiritual knowledge. Now, what is the one thing which is really missing in modern society at this point in time?
Spirituality.
Yeah, spirituality, spiritual knowledge. You know, if you go to school, do you learn spiritual knowledge? If you go to university, do you learn spiritual knowledge? Where is the department which teaches you about the soul? About your real identity, who you actually are? It is called in Sanskrit, in the ancient Vedas, they're written in the language called Sanskrit. In Sanskrit, the term is Atma Tattva. Tattva means truth. Atma means the soul. So where do you go to university where they teach you you're not the body, but you're the soul? Does everyone understand what I'm talking about? Hands up if you understand you're not the body, we're the soul. So everyone understands the basic point. But where is the knowledge, or where is the discipline or the education for that type of knowledge? It's not there in modern society. And that's why modern society currently has a vacuum. If you look in the modern world, especially in the Western world, there's a vacuum of spirituality. Spirituality is kind of being sucked out. People get up in the morning and they just get straight into their materialistic activities. Whereas in Eastern places, like India and other places, you'll see that people get up in the morning and the first thing they do is they go to the temple. Or they'll have some spiritual discipline. We call it in Sanskrit, we call it sadhana. Sadhana means like a practice, a daily practice. So as Hare Krishna devotees, we're like the monks, or like the priests, we're like the really dedicated ones. We meditate for 2 hours every day. That's our discipline. We get up early in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, get up very early. And we meditate for 2 hours every day. With this mantra that we're chanting before, we meditate on that for 2 hours every day on beads. We chant it by ourselves privately. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we chant the mantra on beads. Does someone want to take the kids today? Because you asked the question, it might be good.
Yeah, I know, it's just hard to carry them.
No, go on.
There's a playroom just there. You can put them in
Then I'll watch them.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Someone can take them out.
Thank you, sorry.
Because then at least you get the answer for your question. Okay. Yeah, we've got trampolines and stuff, that'll be fine. Okay. So, as practitioners in the Hare Krishna movement, our meditation is we get up in the morning, we chant the Hare Krishna mantra, which is what we're chanting before. We chant that like in a meditative way on beads. And this connects us to Krishna. In the Western world, we usually say God. God means the supreme entity. Hands up if you believe in something higher than us. And you may have different names for it. Everyone has different names, but something above it. I mean, looks like 100% of us. We believe there's something above us, something more powerful. So we designate that personality based on the Vedic teachings as Krishna. He's the bluish boy who's in all the pictures all around the place. That is God, according to our philosophy and our teachings. So we chant his name. Abhinitva nama namano. It says in the ancient teachings that when you chant the name of Krishna, Nija Sava Shaktis means all the potency of God himself are within those names, that sound. So when we're chanting that sound, we become purified in consciousness. That's part of our meditation every day. We purify our hearts. So we become closer to Krishna, closer to God. We become like Krishna, like God. And then we become more pure so that we can assist others to also raise themselves up. So in modern society, there is a vacuum where there is not a deep spirituality. People wake up in the morning and there's no spiritual focus. And they just absorb themselves in the material world. And then, because of that, then not understanding who they are, that they are spiritual by nature, they have to deal with all the problems that are in this world. Now, originally, according to the Vedic teachings, originally our soul was living with Krishna in the spiritual realm, which in the West we usually call heaven. Right? In our philosophy we call it Goloka, or Vaikuntha, there's different names for it. So we were originally in that divine realm, but Krishna or God has given us independence. Independence means we have free will. We can do as we like, to a degree. So we chose, instead of staying in that spiritual divine place, to have a bit of free space. So he said, okay, I'll send you to the other place. The other place is where we are now. This is this world, the material world. So when you come into the material world, if you forget Krishna, forget God, then you have to deal with the material energy. Now Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the material energy has two aspects. What are the two aspects in the material world? There's many ways we can describe it, but two things he says.
Covers us.
Yeah, covers and pulls down. That's from Chaitanya Charitamrita. But in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Dukalayam ashashvatam. What is this first word? Dukalayam. Anyone else? And Dukalaya. Just like in India we have the Himalaya. Means the mountains. Laya means like a place. Himalaya, like that. So we have the Dukalaya, or Dukaya. What's that?
Mountain of pain.
Yeah, place where you will suffer. So the material world, Krishna himself, the person who created this world, God, he says, this place we come to, when your soul leaves the spiritual world and comes here, this is the place where you will suffer. He says, Dukalayam ashashvatam. What does ashashvatam mean? Anyone who knows this language?
Temporary.
Temporary, yeah. It is temporary here. Everything is temporary. Because our soul is eternal, but we enter into a body which is temporary, which means it will only last a period of time. Just like my grandmother died 2 weeks ago. She was 89. That's a good life in this day and age. That's like a good amount of time. So, but and she used to say to me all the time, every time I've spoken to her in the last few years, she would say to me every time, where does all the time go? Now I'm 89, life's just gone, just gone. So ashashvata means it is temporary. Whereas in the spiritual world, we don't go through birth and death. So because we're never born and we never die, we just live constantly, it's perfect. But when you come here, you go into a body which is temporary. I know this body will perish. My soul will live, but I will perish. So therefore our body goes through different bodies. That is called transmigration or reincarnation. So, as long as you enter into this world, you are forced to go through dukkhalayam and ashashvatam, a temporary situation full of misery or suffering. Hands up if you know what I'm talking about here tonight. Got 100% again. Okay, it's good. Much easier when everyone understands. So it's temporary and it's full of suffering. So then we come to your question. People are dealing with trauma. The reason we're dealing with trauma is because we're in the wrong place. It's like if you take a fish, you go down to lawn, right? Sometimes we go down with the kids and they have nets and we catch the fish. Not to eat, we're vegetarian, we don't eat fish. But we catch the fish, then we put them back in the ocean. But the kids just like catching them in the net, which is debatable whether that's even a good thing because the fish must be freaking out. But they put them back. But you take the fish out of the water and you put him on the banana lounge, right? And say, here's some Coke, here's some Ray-Ban sunglasses, put on the ghetto blaster and play Sting. Right, and what's the fish going to be thinking? Right, the fish is going to be thinking, put me back in the water. Right, because that's where he belongs. That is his atmosphere. That's where he will be happy. So as long as souls, as long as we're away from Krishna, away from God, we'll never be happy. So how to solve all the problems, how to actually solve the problems, to have a spiritual awakening. That's actually the, because you can deal with everything superficially. You can give people counselling and say, deal with what happened with your mother, deal with what happened to your father. All of us have problems with our mother. I mean, my mother's wonderful, but she's not perfect. She didn't let me have a biscuit when I was 3 and I'm still traumatised. Not really, but I mean, we all have. So you can work out all those things, but that doesn't solve the initial problem or the original problem. The original problem is that we're not spiritually satisfied. We're not with Krishna. We're not where we belong. So then working down from there, then we go down the different platforms, because even when you become a Hare Krishna devotee, if you fully absorb yourself in the spiritual aspect of our practice, you can solve all of your problems. But for most people, they still need some external help. In other words, some counselling or stuff like that. Because most people in life have got some problems. So that needs to be addressed to some degree. So how to deal with the trauma? Then originally, at least we have to begin with the underpinning of what the actual problem is, and then we have to deal with how to live in this world. So the Vedas, or these ancient teachings from India, they teach us how to live in this world. Now, what is the biggest problem in this world that we're facing as a global community right at this moment?
Hunger.
Hunger? Yeah, that could be. Yeah, that's definitely up there. So
Religion. Depression.
I'll get to that one next. What was it?
I understand, but I don't know.
Someone over there said something.
Depression.
Depression? Yeah, you could say as a
Someone said
worldwide.
Drugs.
Yeah, I heard someone say drugs. Okay, yeah, you could say worldwide. I don't know if that'd be the number one problem in the world, but definitely it's high up there.
Mental health.
Mental health, yeah, depression, mental health. That's definitely high on the list of what society's going through.
The methane release from factory farms causing the atmosphere to change.
Yeah, so we're talking about global, well, that's actually what I was thinking of. The biggest problem we've got on this planet right now as a global community is climate change. And it's more serious than what people realise. So why is it that we're having this problem at this point in time? Why is the climate changing so much? Because we're not living properly. We're not living as we should on this earth. If you came to our last Sunday feast, which was in May, it always falls on Mother's Day, the second Sunday of the month, and it's also at the same time that we have our feast. So I gave a whole discussion about the 7 mothers. So one of the 7 mothers, according to the Vedic teachings, is the earth. She sustains us. She's our mother. That's why we say Mother Nature or Mother Earth, like that. She sustains us. Now, at this point in time, we are destroying the earth. And what is the main, interesting, I've only realised this myself in the last couple of months, the main reason that we're changing the climate and destroying the earth is because of the diet of the earth. I mean, I always knew that was a problem, but I didn't realise it's actually the problem. The carbon emissions are actually coming from the animal industry, because the people on the earth, 7 billion of us, what's the figure? How many?
More than 7.
I know it's more than 7 billion, but it's...
7.3, I think so.
Oh no, I'm saying the humans are 7.3, yeah.
Just cows are 70 billion.
70 billion. Okay, so
cows.
70 billion cows being slaughtered per annum based on the human necessity. What they're saying at this point in time is to eat. And because of, I think the figure was 250 billion animals.
Yeah, but that's just cows though.
Yeah, 70 billion cows.
And that's what they pin a lot of the problems.
The main is the cows, yeah. The main is the cows because of the emissions. So because of the diet, because we're not living properly on the earth, we're creating problems for ourselves. So according to the Vedic teachings, if you want to solve the problems in your life, you have to address your karmic debt, or the law of karma. Now this is something which is not understood properly by the modern world. People think you can just do whatever you want and just be a nice person. I'm eating a McDonald's hamburger, right? And there's so much violence attached to that hamburger. But I'm a nice person. I smile when I'm saying it to you, and I'm really nice, and I do good things, and I give 20 cents every time I go past the Red Cross. But I destroy all the other living entities. So people don't understand the karma which is attached to that. And you cannot be peaceful as a human being on the earth until you're peaceful to all the entities on the earth. So in terms of getting people to overcome their trauma, they have to understand how to live in this world. And people don't understand how necessary it is for the world to adopt a vegetarian diet. I mean, I've been a vegetarian for 26 years now, strictly. I mean, we don't have rennet in our cheese. Well, I mean, we're strict. We're very, very strict. But I didn't realise until recently, after I've done some more research, how much it is affecting this world, a meat-based diet. So for us, if we were dealing with people who are suffering from trauma and so forth, we would say it's not just, things you've gone through in this life, but it's how you're living. We have to reteach. And this gentleman was telling me he works in the prison system, like that. They've done experiments in prisons and schools in America in the last 5 years or so, where a portion of the prison adopted a vegetarian diet, and they saw dramatic behaviour in the inmates. And what to speak of the kids in schools, when they made the cafeterias vegetarian, and not just vegetarian, but like, what we call food, whole food, not this, anything which is processed is not good for you, basically. If it's in a packet and it's got, more than 2 ingredients, just like my daughter, she had a breakfast this morning, she put honey, and she read the ingredients, and it said, organic honey, and said ingredients, organic honey. And she goes, so why does it say, it says organic, so and then why was around the side it says ingredients organic? Because I said, because everything these days has something else in it. And I said, as soon as you get one more thing in it than what it actually is, it's not good for you, because it's processed, and that's not good for you. We don't eat processed food very much. So if you just change the diet of people, you'll see a dramatic difference in their behavior, in their attitudes, in their mental state. So it's very hard to counsel people and deal with their trauma, and then they just go into McDonald's and start eating all this not good food, which has so much karma and violence attached to it, and then expect all the other areas of their life to automatically become fixed. So you have to have some basic underpinnings to make your life successful. First of all, your spirituality, then how you deal in this world with your karma and all the other living entities on this planet. Then from that platform, then you can really start dealing with, okay, now your father's problem, your mother's problem, the drug problems, all those things. But if we don't deal with the original problems, then you can counsel people for years, but they're not really going to be truly healed. So that's the Hare Krishna answer to the question.
Thank you. It's interesting you say the concept of food. I'm actually doing a thesis at the moment for my Master's in Aboriginal Studies, and it's decolonising the diet to treat substance use in Aboriginal communities. My whole philosophy is food is the first thing and everything else comes from that. And going back and addressing, looking at Aboriginal culture, my ancestry is Native American, and for our people and for Aboriginal Australians and Aboriginal people all around the world, they had the ideal lifestyle prior to colonisation. Respect for land and animals, there was, the health, it was real, everything came from the earth. But the trauma that we're dealing with today is embedded in colonisation, and that trying to reconnect to culture and what you're talking about, it's kind of, just hanging on to what's left, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to fix problems which, like I said, if you don't go to the base of the problem or the origin of the problem, you're not going to fix the problems. Because they're just trying... Like I saw a really good documentary, excellent documentary recently called That Sugar Film. Did anyone see it? It only came out, it was in the theatres a couple of months ago. Excellent. I mean, it's made by an Australian guy as well. I didn't agree with everything that he said or did, but the documentary was excellent. So, interesting statistics, which I've learned only very recently. The highest consumption of Coca-Cola on the planet is in the Northern Territory Aboriginal community. The highest youth suicide rate on the planet is in the Northern Territory Aboriginal communities. Right?
Wow.
Now, when they did the studies, going back 60 years, the Aboriginals in those communities, because they took the documentary, they had the cameras inside the communities, and this was interesting. This particular community they documented was a dry community. It's never had alcohol abuse. In fact, the elders in that particular community have never allowed alcohol into the community, so that's not an issue. But they're all obese, they're all overweight, right? Because they're living out in the desert, right? And they're just getting all this processed imported food coming in, especially Coke. They're the highest per capita on the planet. I think they're all drinking 4 or 5 cans average a day, right? And if you think Coke, I don't drink Coke. I haven't drank Coke for pretty much 20 years, I don't think, 25 years maybe. You know, if just look on YouTube what Coke can be used for. You have to put it in your mouth. Right? It can also be used as a deacidizer.
Dissolve concrete.
Can dissolve concrete. My friend here's a builder. Dissolves rust. It's got a lot of extra uses, but don't put it in your mouth because it's actually not meant for that. It's actually created to do other things. Very good for many other things. Don't put it in your mouth because it's not good. Basically, it's acid. It just rips apart and dissolves. And the sugar content is ridiculous. What's in it? It's not healthy. So basically, in the Aboriginal communities in the Northern Territory in particular, the people are living extremely short lives because they're just eating the wrong foods. They're basically killing their kidneys. They're all dying of kidney failure. I think the average person's living to about 45 at the moment. And that's just because of diet orientation. And if you go back 60 years, they were just living in the desert, as you said, nomadic, right? And they were just going around and eating what was naturally available. And they were all skinny, thin, and strong. And now, because of so-called progress, everyone's dying by the age of 45. They're completely obese, no quality of life. So diet is an amazingly important aspect of our life and our society. In the Hare Krishna movement, we're known as the kitchen religion. And why is that? Because we've got the best food. Right? Everyone always says, I walk down the street, just the Hare Krishna, just in Melbourne or different places. And people walk up to me and they say, where's your restaurant? Where's your food? So people are like, it's like they're drug addicts or something. Hare Krishna food addicts. We call it prasadam addicts. I remember walking car parks and guys would come up to me and say, have you got your food? I was looking at them like, I don't carry it on me, man. It's not like that. Just let me look in my pocket, maybe I've got some bliss balls or something like that. Yeah, it's funny. Actually, the day my father passed away, he was being looked after by a nurse. I went to see him. I walked in, the nurse was there in the corner, and I walked in to see my dad. Dad is going to pass away. And the nurse is in the corner, and she saw me walk in. She goes, "You've got any food?" I just looked at her and said, "No." I did actually, because I had some for my dad, but I just kind of looked at her like, the people are just like into this Hare Krishna food. And it's very important what we eat. And it's not just that we're vegetarian, but as you can see now, Tareen is offering the food to Krishna. Before we eat the food, we offer it to God, because it came from Him. So we say thanks. We don't just eat something selfishly, which we didn't create. If you don't create something, you don't have the right to destroy it. Right? So it says in the Bible, it says, man has dominion over the animals. We don't have a right to kill the animals, because we can't create the animals. So if you can't create life, you can't take the life. That's the Vedic teaching. That's also the biblical teaching. It says in the Bible, man was given by God the herb-bearing plant, the fruit-bearing tree, and that was the food. And he said, and he saw that that was good. So this is in Genesis, when the world was created. This is what we were given to eat. So we don't just eat the food, because we have to take the carrot's life when we pluck the carrot out of the ground. We take a life, jiva jivasya jivanam. It says in Sanskrit in the Vedas, everyone must take a life to sustain his life. All of us have to take life to sustain ourselves. That's a fact. None of us can avoid that, even as human beings. But we have a choice whether to eat the meat or eat the vegetables. That's our choice. We don't have to eat meat, because we haven't eaten meat for years, and we're perfectly fine. We're healthy. So we eat the vegetables, but we offer the food which we've cooked, because it's come from God. We offer it back to Krishna. He blesses it, and then it becomes purified, sanctified. And that's the secret ingredient in the Hare Krishna food. People always say, why does it taste so good? Because it's touched by God Himself. It's touched by Krishna Himself. Some people say, you put something in there to brainwash people. The turmeric, the yellow. It's the turmeric. Because back in when the Hare Krishna movement came to the West in the 70s, no one knew what turmeric was. These days people know what turmeric is. But people used to eat our food in the 70s, and people have told me their mothers said to them, don't go and eat the Hare Krishna food, because it's got that yellow stuff in that's brainwashing powder. It's a turmeric, we're getting it wrong. But it's not actually the turmeric. Right? It's actually Krishna's touch. It's the touch of God Himself. He tastes the food, He blesses it, He purifies it. When we eat it, just by eating Hare Krishna food, you become purified. There's no karma in the food, and it purifies your soul. You can become self-realized just by eating Hare Krishna food. It's pretty good. and doing some chanting like that. It's very simple, our process. Just do some chanting like that. So we would say if people are suffering from trauma, then change the way you live. Change the way you live. Right? Bring in some chanting. Chant the names of Krishna, names of God. That will purify you. That will solve my problems. I came from a good background. I mean, I had a good family. You know, I was brought up in Melbourne. I mean, I didn't have a lot of problems in my life. You know, I mean, everyone has problems. I had things, you know, I mean, talking about traumas, I had traumas happen to me which were enough to derail my life. But, you know, somehow I just, you know, got through those things. But then I was always looking at myself, there must be something deeper which will solve my problems in my life. And then when I came to this, which was a spiritual way of life, then, you know, I feel like it has solved my problems. You know, I mean, I've still got things, we're all dealing with stuff from our past, but nothing major. This solves it because I feel connected to Krishna, to God. And that one thing that just solves everything, basically. Now you can deal with all the other stuff on the side. But if people don't do that, you can just counsel them forever, but it doesn't really solve. So that's the Hare Krishna answer.
Thank you.
That's okay. Very good question. So, anything else you want to add to that? Or?
No, it's pretty much on par, I guess. When you're talking about your experience, mine too, also not turning to drugs and alcohol. My spirituality is, you know, my connection to my Native American culture on my father's side. I'm from Canada and moved to Australia when I was 10. Yeah, so it's kind of, you know, I've been disconnected from my ancestry and my land and from coming here. My mother bringing me here. So it's kind of, yeah, and I try and instill that in other people, especially with the Aboriginal communities that I'm working with, go back and connect to culture. But a lot of the times they're displaced. They're not living on the land that they're connected to. They're, you know, brought up with white families, and that's, yeah, it's about reconnecting, and it's like, you know, that whole kind of connecting to their life. And there's, I think spirituality definitely is the key, and definitely through food.
Yeah.
And reconnect through culture.
Mm.
So it's pretty much kind of, yeah,
Very similar.
Similar to kind
Yeah.
of, it's good just to confirm that I think I'm on the right path. But I really want to hear from lots of different, you know, philosophies and cultures and spiritual places about how they look at it. So.
Yeah, the world was very connected in the past. The world was very connected. If you look at Aztec, if you look at Mayan, if you look at Egyptian, if you look at Norse, if you look at Greek, if you look at Roman, if you look at Mongolian, if you look at Vedic, and then, you know, if you look at all the ancient cultures, they're very, very similar. Basically, the teachings are basically the same. Basically.
Different names, isn't it?
Different names, mainly different names.
But
I mean, there are details. I'm not saying it's all the same, because then it becomes wishy-washy. That's the problem with the world these days. Now everything's new age, or everything's just beautiful. And it's not like that.
Yes.
But you can see it was all connected. There was a global community. I mean, for example, you know, sometimes in the Mayan culture and some of the ancient, they used to, you know, human sacrifices. So we can't say, oh, that was spiritual. Yeah, that was their tradition, but it's not good. You know, it's not part of our tradition. I mean, unless they really misbehaved or something. But generally, you know, it's not part of our tradition like that. So we can't, you know, sometimes it becomes very sentimental these days. It's just anything old is good like that, but it's not like that. But basically, if you look at the ancient traditions, they were all on the right path. And they were all heading towards a superior goal. That was the point. So, any other question? Yes, madam.
There's different gods, like the Christian people believe in Jesus, and us people, we believe in Krishna. Would the gods be friends? If all of us humans are friends with the two gods, would they be friends?
Yeah, it's a very good question actually, and it's very important to understand these things clearly. What's happened in the modern world is people are not clear about how things actually work or how everyone is connected properly. That's the problem. Jesus is the Son of God. Right? So there's God, the Father, who we say Krishna. In their tradition they say God. And then there's the Son. So the Son and the Father, they're not the same. One's the Father, one's... It's like you're not the same as your dad. Right? You can't say, I'm Monish. Yeah, because you're not. There's your dad, there's you. You're two different people. You're one in the sense you're in the same family. So there's a oneness in the sense, there's oneness and difference. Prabhupada, the founder of the Hare Krishna movement, so he would say we've got 5 fingers, right? At the moment, those 5 fingers are one in purpose, but they're still individuals, right? So they're one and they're different, right? They can, like all you guys, you're one family, so you're one, but you're still different, right? So Jesus and God are one in the sense they're father and son, but they're different as well. This is important to understand. Because sometimes, I've met a lot of Christians over the last 25 years, and some of them say that Jesus is God. But I always say to them, well, where does Jesus say that in the Bible? There's nowhere in the Bible where he says, I am God. He says in the Bible, I sit at the right hand of my Father. So if you're sitting at the right hand of your Father, you're not the Father. It's like saying, well, I'm sitting on your lap, I'm you. It's like, it doesn't work. So, your question is, like, do the two gods get along? Yeah, well, one of them's God and one of them's the Son. And they get along very well because the Father and Son love each other.
So would that be the reason why all of us humans love each other as well?
Well, not because you're young, that's a very nice sentiment, but the fact is, if you look at 7 billion of us now, not everyone loves each other. You know, do you ever turn on the news at night? Sometimes. So do you ever see sometimes there's like wars and fighting going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good if you don't watch that stuff. That's why I haven't got a television. That's why I haven't had a television for the last 25 years, because...
The wars are still going on.
Yeah, it's just, what's the point? What are you telling me? What are you reporting? It's insanity. Like that. Why are these people all fighting each other and killing each other? It doesn't even make sense. A lot of the time where the problems are, the Middle East, right, the problems have been there for 2,500 years and they're still going to this day. They're always killing each other. A lot of it's based on, oh, you're this religion, I'm that religion. That doesn't even make sense. Because the fact is that there's 5 major religions on the planet, right? And if you look at that word, religion, because the word has a very bad connotation these days, religion. As soon as you, like even myself, you say religion, I just go, oh, I'm actually religious, like that. But you know, if you look at the actual word, the word is Latin. What does the word mean? Religio. Ligio means link, right? Relink means to relink or reunite. That's what religion means, to reconnect with God. So am I religious? Yes, because I'm reconnecting with God. But do I consider myself a religious person, even though I wear dresses and I put stuff on my face and I've got a funny haircut? I don't really think of myself as being in a religion. I think it's more like a spiritual movement. But technically, yes, I'm in a religion, just to make it simple. So there's 5 big religions on the planet. There's Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, and Islam. Yeah. Did I say 5?
Yeah.
Did I? Okay. So there's 5. So they're the 5 big, like that. So quite often, the conflicts in the world are between those different, like that. Like if you go into Christianity into the past, you know, the Spanish Inquisition and everything, like millions of people have been killed. If you go into Hinduism, you know, it's there. If you go into Buddhism, it's there. If you go into Islam, it's there. All the religions have done those things. So the point is that if you've got the founders of those various teachings, like if you've got Buddha and Gautama, right, the original Buddha, if you've got Muhammad, right, Islam, if you've got Moses, you say from Judaism, if you've got Christ, Christianity, and what was that line? Oh, it's Hinduism, so that's us. So you get Ram or Krishna or Prabhupada or someone. You put them in a room together, right, what's the mood going to be? Right? It's going to be overwhelming love, compassion, friendship. You know, it's going to be the most wonderful experience to see those 5 world leaders from the 5 major traditions together in one place. It'd be overwhelmingly loving. And yet the followers, 2,000 years later, are all killing each other. That doesn't make sense. So this is, these days, when we say, you know, all the people in the world love each other, that would be very nice if they do. Unfortunately, they don't. But if they actually understand the essence of all of their teachings, because all the teachings are the same, although the details are different, if you look at the essence, everyone would get along because the teaching is the same. Right? Christianity simplifies it into 2 teachings. What's the two basic teachings of Christ? Does anyone know?
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness, yeah. And how is it actually said?
Love one another as I've loved you.
Yeah. Love thy father with all thy heart, and love each other as we would love ourselves. Love thy neighbour as you would love thyself. That's basically the two main teachings of Krishna, basically. And if you look at all the teachings of the world, that's basically it. Love Krishna, God, with all your heart, and treat each other as you treat yourself.
Treat others the way you be treated.
Yeah, like that. So in all the ancient teachings, the philosophy is extended to all the living entities on the earth, not just humanity. Right? Because Christ never says in the Bible, because it says in the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not kill. Right? But then there's nothing in brackets that says only human beings. But these days, I speak to a lot of people over the last few years, and they say, oh, that just means human beings. And why doesn't it say that? Don't kill human beings. No, it's a commandment. Thou shalt not kill. It means don't kill. So therefore, we teach people, do not kill any of the creatures on the earth. Right? Live, that's why we were saying before that everyone should be vegetarian, because we should just live very peacefully. There's no need to kill the animals. And actually killing the animals is wrecking the planet. It's actually the main cause of global warming. It's destroying the planet, not in a small way. It's the damage is incredible that's being done. People haven't worked it out yet. Some really good documentaries I could recommend to you if you want to go further into this, which gives scientific evidence. It's just it's ridiculous what's taking place at this point in time.
Can I ask a question in relation to that?
Yeah, I'll see if... are you finished? Does that answer your question? Anything else you want to add to it? Or no, you're happy? Okay, I can keep my job. It's my number one supporter. Thanks, Hare Krishna. Yeah, you had a question?
Yeah, just in relation to not killing animals, like in our Aboriginal culture, I guess we hunted animals and only took what we needed, and we used all of the animal, and there was a lot of respect. So the animal protein was part of our diet, but it wasn't, it was sustainable and it was ethical and it was...
Technically it's not ethical. Technically it's not ethical. Right? You could say it's sustainable, yeah, you could argue that. You could argue different things, but you can't say it's ethical. Just like the other day I was listening on the radio and they're talking about, it was a farmer and he was somewhere in Gippsland and he was saying, we kill the animals humanely. But it's like, if I kill Narayan right now, I mean, hypothetically, if I kill him right now in front of all of you, right, is anyone going to say, oh, that was humane? No, everyone's going, what happened? Ring the cops, grab the guy, it's like, and yet we do it to animals every day. We say, oh, no, but that was humane. I just shot him in the head, or I electrocuted him, or whatever, or I slit his throat. It's horrific the way it's done. Paul McCartney, who's a vegetarian, he's a good guy, Paul. He got, the Dalai Lama, or the head of Buddhism. They're the same age, Paul McCartney and the Dalai Lama. Paul McCartney wrote him a letter last year. Have you read the letter? Look it up on YouTube. It's a good, on the internet. Good letter, man. He gets on the Dalai Lama's case. You're the head of Buddhism and you still eat meat yourself? Yeah, he goes through the Dalai Lama. Just absolutely. And Dalai Lama can't really say much back because they're the same age. So it's kind of like, it's two old guys kind of, getting into each other. But Paul, he's committed to vegetarianism. So Paul McCartney said, if the abattoirs had glass walls, everyone would be vegetarian. As long as it's down there in Colac. It's down in Colac, right? That's where the big abattoir is in this area, down in Colac. And, as long as it's all hidden nicely, then, everyone's okay with it. But if you had glass walls and it was next to the school, you think the kids would be eating meat? So it's not ethical. It's not ethical.
I guess, sorry, I obviously stated that wrong.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to extend the point because it's a misnomer. In the ancient cultures they did eat. I understand what you're saying. You can say it's sustainable.
So there's certain laws about what you can eat, when you can eat it,
Yeah.
and how you...
Okay, so what I'm saying is that that's one level of practice of one particular culture, but there's a higher evolution in consciousness that culture could be gone to by having a lacto-vegetarian diet. It's higher. Even though many of the cultures in the world do it, the Aboriginals, the North American Indians, all over the world, there's tribal communities which kill the animals, but it's not necessary. They did it, and they still do it, but it's not necessary. It can be done by sustainable agriculture. We can all live from the grains of the earth, because it says in the original teachings in the Genesis, if we go to the Bible or the ancient teaching, it says God gave us the plants, and that was our diet. So I know they do it, but it's not actually, we can't say it's ethical. Do you understand my point?
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah. Well, because it's there in all the traditions, right? If you go back to the Native Americans, they did it and like that, but it's not the highest level of consciousness that a human being should be on. That's the point. It can be done like that, but it's not the best. That's the point we're trying to make, like that. But it is there in all the ancient cultures like this.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something to that. That like they did ate meat out of necessity because they didn't know to starve to death. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, if Hare Krishna is starving to death, he's allowed to eat. He should eat meat. So, I mean, I think Maitreya Muni was starving to death, and he ate dogs. So
Yeah,
it's out of necessity that the Aboriginal people didn't have the ability to, or they didn't have cows on the land, I suppose, to milk. So they were just in a different culture, but I mean, whether or not they can adapt to eating rice and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was done all over the world, but it's not the recommended diet for humanity, according to the ancient teachings of all the places. It's not the best diet. You can do it, and we, like as Steve pointed out, we would do it if, like, if I was in the circumstance, which I don't foresee being in my life, maybe I will be, where there's no option. Yes, we will take the animal's life. It is sanctioned under that circumstance, but that's like a desperate circumstance. It's not like a day-to-day living circumstance. So if you choose to walk into the desert and live in the desert, then of course there's nothing else to eat but meat. If you choose to go into the North Pole and live in the North Pole, there's nothing else to eat but fish. But it's not the chosen place. And actually in the Vedas and the ancient teachings from India, it says in the Manu Samhita, humans should not live where palm trees do not grow. Which is actually good advice. Because in those places, that's where it's most fertile and that's where you can grow much more easily. As soon as you start going away from the equators, then you have to go into places where it is difficult to follow that kind of diet. So it is there, but it's not the best. That's the point I'm trying to put across. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Here, just listening.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, the ancient culture, I'm just giving from the Vedic culture or the ancient.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like that. Because I mean, we're aware that all the ancient cultures ate flesh and they chose to eat like that. But the point we're trying to make is, okay, that's there, but it's not the best. In terms of evolving your consciousness to the highest relationship with God or Krishna, it will block that. Because he does not actually permit it. So it has to be there's a choice which every human being has. We don't have to eat like that. And that can be given up. Even though they did it, and they did, I agree it was sustainable the way they did it, not like the way it's done now, but it's not the best, it's not ordained, you could say, by the Creator. He doesn't like it when we kill other things unnecessarily. Like Steve said, if it's necessary, like you're stuck in the desert and there's nothing to eat, yeah, okay, then, but unnecessarily it should not be done. Like that's
also, as you mentioned, with Inuit community groups in the Arctic, in that where you can't grow grains because it's just ice. You're born there, so what do? Get in your canoe and paddle off.
Yeah.
So you find an island with a palm tree, or you work with what you have.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we really want to get technical, it's based on karma. Karma from the previous life that you were born in as a Eskimo, for example. Right, so you're born in the place where there is an alternative. But if you had knowledge and education, then yes, you would move further towards the equator and you would eat a lacto-vegetarian diet. You know, unless you're living up there as an Eskimo and then some Hare Krishna goes past on a boat and, you know.
I was going to add on to that too. I mean, obviously they didn't have the knowledge, and a lot of these old cultures were nomadic as well, so they weren't around long enough to use the land properly. And yeah, so the only option was to hunt. And it was also, I mean, through their beliefs and their, you know, like I said, in a religious way, you know, the men hunt, and that was it. That was the path of becoming a man. You hunt, you kill something, and then you're a man. So,
yeah, it was the way it was. I'm just trying to give like the best option, the best option, and then the other options are there. So we should, at least we should understand. The most important thing is to understand how we should live, because in this day and age there is no excuse. Yeah, if you eat meat, there's just no excuse. It just means you're lazy. That's all it means. Any other questions or?
I have just one Prabhu comment to
Yes.
make here.
Yes, sir.
I value what you say that vegetarianism and I will all believe that. But what will happen to the growing population of animals? Because if nature is not going to take its due course, which is by virtue of its food chain, as we all understand, so what will happen to that? So because the whole ocean is going to be flooded with fishes, and if whale is not going to eat that, and
Yeah.
like
Basically,
since I'm following evolution, that's why I'm just trying to
yeah.
be a bit curious.
Yeah. Well, if you follow the doctrine of evolution, then you'll see the world in a particular way. But if you take it from the creationist point of view, which is what we do, like that, then the whole thing was set up sustainably by the Creator Himself, so that everything would sustain itself naturally. So the fish in the sea, I mean, Krishna, you know, the Supreme Intelligence, He created them in such a way. They're the filtration unit of that's what the fish are in the ocean for, to filter. Like that. That's what they do. They keep the water clean. The water is then evaporated, dropped onto the land, and that's how it works. So everything was set up perfectly, and it is sustainable. And Krishna, you know, I mean, you know, He didn't like create everything, and He looks down, you know, a million years later, and goes, "Oh my God, I put too many fish in the ocean." You know, it's like, you know, and He's perfect. The way He develops everything is done perfectly. So we don't have to, as humans, we don't have to over-intellectualize things and try to think that we are more intelligent than the Creator Himself.
True.
You know, He's made it all sustainable. It's the way we're dealing. It's when man gets involved artificially, according to what he thinks is his better intelligence than the Creator, that's when it all becomes problematic. But if we just leave things to, you know, if you leave the oceans as they are, they'll obviously stay.
Basically, don't mess with the nature.
Yeah, that's the point. Because, I mean, the amount of fish they take out of the ocean now, we're destroying the ocean's ecosystems. That's what's taking place. So. And that will have ramifications on the earth in due course of time. So. Okay. Any other question or comment? What we've... Very enlightening questions thus far.
Yeah, I've got one for you.
Yes, sir.
Back in the olden days, with us black fellas,
Yeah.
we did have vegetables.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
There's watercress. There's a certain, well, you call it weed now, but we used to make flour out of that. Get all the seeds. And there's the bush tomato. There's the bush grape. And all those things were there. But we supplemented when we couldn't get the meat. So we went that way. Had a feed of that stuff. And there were nomads, and they went all around the country. And for one mob to come into this area, you had to get permission. And then they migrate to the ocean. And that way, so it was around. And that's all the culture's been lost today.
Yeah. You know where the bush tucker is? Do you know how to... You know? Okay. Maybe you can come down.
I know most of it.
Okay. Yeah, if you come down here for a day, it'd be good. And we could just go around the farm, we could see what's... Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, I've been trying to get someone who can come and show us what's edible just in the land around here. So, yeah, we'll organise that. Can you organise that, Tegan? Just come down for a day. We'll have a bush tucker day. Cook a feast. Like that. Yeah, that'd be good. Any other questions? Or anyone? Bueller? Yeah.
Is it good to eat dairy since if eating meat is bad, and since milk and all those dairy products are part of animals, is dairy good for you?
Yeah, what is it now, June? If you go to the April, because we record the discussions, if you go back to April and you have a look at that on the Hare Krishna Valley website, we went through a whole discussion on, we had the Geelong vegan group came.
I remember that.
So that's all we talked about. So I've answered all the questions on veganism, but just to answer it simply and quickly. Then, according to our tradition, which is the Vedic tradition of ancient India, and India's the land of the cow, holy cow, mother cow. You see all the pictures, Krishna's with cows. God himself lives with cows. In fact, his planet where he lives in the spiritual sky is called Goloka, planet of cows. So he's very fond of the cow. Is the milk good for you? Yes, the milk is very good for you. Are the products from the cow very good for you, like the ghee and the yogurt and the butter? And yeah, they're very good for you. Unfortunately, the way the cows are being treated at the moment is not good. That's really the issue. It's not whether or not the food is good, because the food, you don't have to kill the cow to take the milk. The cow is the reason she's considered holy is because she gives us milk just like our mother does through our whole life. So you can sustainably milk the cow and take her products, and it's very good for you. But the way the modern world, they're killing all the cows, that's not good. So that's our simple answer, like that. But if you want to get into the technical answer, go back to April and look at it's a big discussion. It's a huge discussion. So our aim here at Hare Krishna Valley is that we're building a Goshala. After our feast, you can all go over to our Goshala. We go over and see our cows. That's part of our program. So we have an ahimsa dairy here. That's our plan. We don't kill our animals. We never slaughter. All of our animals here are sacred, and they live out their lives naturally. We don't kill them. So we have our small herd, which we're breeding at the moment, and they're maintained. And our desire in the future is that we will hand milk the cows. We won't have a lot of cows. We'll have enough to sustain everyone who's here on the farm. And we're taking milk from a ahimsa, or a peaceful source, a non-violent source. So that's the answer.
Okay.
So the answer is get a cow, put it in your backyard in Grovedale.
Basically, I will add here, in India,
Yeah.
such a dairy has been put up in which they played bhajans in the morning, and then they milk cow in the evening, and that milk is priced for like almost $2 a kg. So that's in India. So that's in Gurgaon. The things are available there. And the guy came, I think he came back from Canada. He was Indian, and he initiated this program. So the things are like quite hit in the market, and he cannot supply the milk. The demand is too much for all the products.
Yeah, people say to us, because we have a huge temple in there in Albert Park in Melbourne, people say to us all the time, you know, send us milk, send us milk, but the amount of cows we have to have 400 cows here, milking all the time to send the amount of milk they need up there. And then that's not sustainable, because then, you know, the cows, and every year they have calves, and then it goes sustainable. So you need, you know, 4,000 acres right here. If the government would sponsor that, we'd be happy to do that. But on this 200 acres, we can sustain about 40 animals or 70 animals. That's our maximum sustainable population. So it's just the way the earth is set up at the moment. It's not sustainable. So we're trying to set a sustainable example here in the future. That's our goal. So please help us. Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much. Very good questions. Thank you all for coming. Is anyone hungry? Okay. Okay, those not hungry, we'll see you next time. Those who are hungry, please go to the next room, and then we'll give you some of that holy Hare Krishna food, which has come from the spiritual world, which is unbeatable, like that. And look forward to seeing you all again. Thank you for coming. Hare Krishna.